Okay, hold on a second. I know I haven't been making these vlogs in a strict chronological order. Jumping back and forth in time might confuse you, but this one is important for you to watch now. The actual events of the following few vlogs happened before the very first diary episode. With that being said, let's go back to October-November 2016 and I'll explain to you in a moment why. Hello everyone, I'm Eugene and welcome to a new chapter of the Traveling Drummer's Diary saga. The next couple of vlogs will tell you about my very first big tour as a session drummer. This will also mark the last few remaining episodes about Vital Remains. This chapter will cover our EU tour in 2016 supporting Venom Inc., as well as some headlining shows in Spain and later a few gigs in Mexico. Once again, the conditions of these trips are different, keeping the series fresh and showing you new stuff. For the Venom Inc. leg of the tour, we had a Nightliner, which is a total game changer for a traveling musician. Back in 2016, I was completely inexperienced and somewhat naive. Nevertheless, I'll try my best to share my experience and educate you about life on the road like always. This vlog chapter is much needed to get you familiar with certain work environment and venues that I will refer to in future diary episodes about Belfagor tours, for example. So strap in, my friends, and let's hit the road. We started the tour with 18 consecutive shows across Europe supporting Venom Inc., no days off. We played in the Czech Republic, Germany, Poland, Austria, Slovenia, Italy, Netherlands, and France. After the last Venom Inc. gig, we flew immediately to Spain and Portugal for an additional 7 headlining gigs. And a few days later, 3 shows in Mexico: Tijuana, the Corona Northside Fest in Monterrey, and Saltillo. Now that you got the big picture of the schedule, it's time to rock. First stop, Prague. Since maybe some of you know, I currently reside in Vienna, so Prague was just a few hours away by train. This was actually a pretty hard part of the tour because I had to get there with all my gear on my own. Rushing early in the morning like I always do, left my place without having breakfast, so I was forced to grab this sandwich. Craving something sweet afterwards, I almost committed an unforgivable train trolley crime.
Tip number 55, stealing is bad.
I arrived to the designated hotel around noon and was told the rest of the band is landing in a few hours. I was quite exhausted from carrying all the gear around, which I'm gonna show you right now. Once again being naive and green, I brought the following: cymbals in a hard case with no wheels, 2 16-inch chinas, 1 16-inch crash, 1 19-inch crash, 2 14-inch pairs of hi-hats, 1 8-inch splash, 1 20-inch ride, snare drum also in a hard case, Rogers Dynasonic 14-inch by 5.5-inch, 3 spare heads plus practice pad, my double pedal in a hard case with all accessories, 8 to 10 pairs of drumsticks. The following drum and personal stuff went into that big-ass suitcase on wheels: trigger module, mixer case, kick practice pad, pair of drum shoes. Personal stuff: 7 t-shirts, 7 pairs of underwear, socks, 2 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of shoes, 1 hoodie, 2 towels, shampoo, soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste, the rest in my backpack. Laptop, cameras, chargers, and much, much more. No need to say this wasn't a lot of fun to carry around. Also had this foldable trolley for all hard cases, which you might have seen in my traveling with gear tutorial.
Tip number 56, try to be realistic about your weightlifting limits when it comes down to carrying your gear.
Of course, by now, years later, I have learned my lesson. No more ego lifting, Eugene, you have my word. As exciting as Prague is, the only sightseeing I decided to do is checking the hotel bathroom. So instead of exploring the streets, I took a nap because we were supposed to rehearse that day before the tour starts. A few hours later, I met the guys. We had a roughly 3 hours practice session, went through the set twice or so. Next day morning, it was time to start the tour, but first, went downstairs for breakfast. Note that I will talk about and show you a lot of food throughout these next few vlogs. I wasn't following any particularly healthy diet at that time, I was just curious about local catering, so you'll see what kind of hospitality you can expect from the promoters on a tour of such caliber, which might make you jealous of my success or disappoint you, shattering your rockstar dreams entirely. Starting with some sugary cereal, followed by some buttered bagel with ham, bacon, cheese, a boiled egg, and Olivier potato salad, and finishing with some cake, toast with jam, and hot tea. Eugene, the tour nutritionist. Bravo ragazza. met the tour manager in the lobby and some of the members from other bands on that tour bill. Got picked up by the van and we headed to the first venue, the Storm Club. Like in some previous episodes about open-air festivals, I'm gonna rate each venue we played on this tour, without going into too many details, just an overall impression. Well, a small oopsie already at the start for bringing in the backline. The room with the stage is rather big, could probably cram up to 800 people easily, has a bar in the far end, not sure about the acoustics. The stage itself is quite small for 5 bands with 2 separate backlines and 2 drum kits in front of each other. The backstage was also very big, enough space for everyone to prepare, warm up and eat. All the 4 supporting bands were sharing a nice Pearl Masters kit that I will show you later. More deli tray for the tour nutritionist before the show. If you play the Czech Republic, there is a 99% chance you will get guyash soup for dinner. Overall, I'm gonna give the Storm Club in Prague a solid 3 out of 5. Pretty decent one. I recall drinking tea after tea to warm myself up. The constant feeling of cold was bothering me, and not because it was October outside, I felt I caught a cold of some sort. Sick on the first day of the tour? Well done indeed, but it's fine, it will go away in a few days. Well, guess what? It didn't. Lasted till the very end for a whole month and was getting worse by the day. During our set, I felt I definitely had fever. Maybe because of stress, balanced nutrition, lack of sleep, no idea. The first gig was bad, very hard to play, but the real sick touring nightmare was just beginning. You will see me trying to survive the remaining 27 gigs in these conditions. Challenge accepted. It's a perfect opportunity for you to learn from my mistakes. After all, these vlogs are partially educational. Now it's time for me to show you around our home away from home, the Nightliner. As far as I remember, it was rented from a Polish company, a very old white double-decker bus with 22 built-in bunks on the second floor for overnight drives. The 2 drivers up in front had their own bunks. A big-ass trailer in the back for all the personal gear and rented backline. The back lounge for chilling was on the upper floor behind all the bunks. Usually this place was reserved for after-show intoxications and other adulthood-related activities, so make sure you keep the door to the back lounge closed at all times. The corridor between the bunks is narrow and the ceiling is low, so you gotta walk with your head down constantly. Furthermore, make sure you don't leave any stuff lying around in the corridor because it's also very dark in there. On each side you usually got 2 rows of bunks, lower and upper. I have always managed to successfully score the upper bunk somehow, which I feel pretty lucky about. This way I don't have to enjoy people constantly walking in their smelly boots right next to my head. I gotta thank Gator from Vital who advised me to rush to the bus and reserve an upper bunk as soon as it arrives.
Tip number 57. It's not a move to take a good bunk for yourself. First come, first served. The further from the lounge, the more peaceful. Comfort guaranteed for the rest of the tour. Survival of the fittest.
For extra noise isolation, earplugs every night. For light reduction, curtains. Preferably no drinks or food in the bunk to keep the sheets clean and dry. You won't be able to change them very often. The bunks are usually equipped with a small lamp, power outlet, and heater, air conditioner. One more important thing to mention, if all of a sudden the driver hits the brakes in the middle of a night drive.
Tip number 58. Sleeping in the bunk with your legs facing the front of the bus can be a matter of life and death, or at least saving you from a spinal neck injury and possible paralysis.
The staircase leading downstairs is also very small and narrow. Make sure you don't cause any traffic jam there. Down one floor is the main lounge, often used either for partying or working. Sometimes this section is separated with a door, making it a bit more endurable for the folks sleeping upstairs. Every day either the manager or the driver will pin the daily schedule on the toilet door to keep everyone informed. A small kitchen with a fridge, usually fully packed with beer and other healthy stuff. Usually for me, this section of the bus is associated with a lot of after-show noise and hangouts. Either trying to finish your cold pizza in peace or having some drunk confessions to members from other bands, telling them some private life stories or praising one another of how sick was their set tonight. Some pretty obvious bus rules such as: don't throw trash on the floor, don't smoke, clean the tables, don't leave empty bottles or cans on them, pee like a girl, prioritize using the toilet as a last resort, the driver is not your mom, no noise downstairs after 5 AM cause the driver needs sleep to bring our asses to the next show. Respect these rules or die in torment. And much, much more. The bus door was locked with a pin code electronic lock which you better memorize and don't share with strangers. Now that you've seen our house on wheels, it's time to take a look at today's office, Club from Hell, Erfurt, Germany. Located basically in the middle of nowhere with no proper backstage, it is still in my opinion a very cool venue. Here's our Pearl Masters kit the opening bands used. Beautiful black finish with good quality hardware. 22-inch kicks, 10, 12-inch rack toms, 14, 16-inch floor toms. Merge table located on the left with a cocktail bar in the back right next to the mixing desk. On the opposite side of the stage, a dining room with a deli tray like always. Some people consume post-workout protein shakes, some consume electricity, Eugene the touring nutritionist, his cold medicine. A staircase in the corridor leading to a VIP room I'm apparently not authorized to enter at this point. There's access to a balcony though, which gives you a nice sniping position in case you want to assassinate the band.
They're in my scope, Ethan. Don't worry.
On the other side, an ugly-looking bathroom to take a shower, which can be a lifesaver. Almost every venue has some kind of an option for a shower in Europe. This is absolutely not the case on US tours. We will get to that problem later in future vlogs and how to deal with it. Later, I'll come back to this venue in 2019 to perform with Decapitated, co-headlining with Aborted. Despite everything I have shown you about this venue, I still really enjoyed it both times I played here. So that's why I'm giving it an overall 4 out of 5. We'll be slowly wrapping this episode up, but before we do that, there was one interesting technical oopsie I wanted to show you which happened that night and the lesson that can be drawn from it, especially valuable for the tech nerds type of drummers. So obviously Venom Inc. as the headlining act of that tour were the first band to make a proper sound check. And that's basically it. We had 5 bands on the bill in total and there was no time for anyone else. Desecrator went first, followed by Nervo Chaos, Mortuary Drape, then us and the headliner. The first band setting up the shared backline and it was time for doors. So we had only very short line checks during changeovers the entire tour. In addition to this, it was my very first tour with the band as you know, so that added to the pressure. The cold and stress slowing me down all the time led to the following situation. After the first song of the set, Jared rushes to me in panic saying only the right bass drum is coming out of the PA. I reply, that is impossible, I hear both triggers in my in-ears. I'll let you guess, what do you think caused this? What made the left trigger disappear in the PA although being present in Eugene's monitor during the gig in Erfurt on 14th of October 2016? A. Mono right kick output only. B. Stereo kick output pan to the right. C. 2 mono output cables, 1 damaged. And D. Stress, balance, nutrition, lack of sleep. Yeah, alright, whichever you chose, the correct answer is none of the above. So Mortuary Drape played right before us and they were using a double pedal with a mic'd bass drum, no trigger. The local sound guy heard my right bass drum, which was the mic and not the trigger, and said it was okay. Although I told him for sure I'm using only triggers without mics and 2 kicks, apparently he ignored that. I didn't even hear the left kick was missing from the PA since it was blasting in my ears perfectly like it should. The rest of the band suffered even more than the crowd, forced to play along with a one-legged pirate drummer. I had a similar situation with Waldschrat a few years ago when I asked to remove the kick mic just in case. The local stage crew insisted that it should stay right there, but they promised they will mute it. And of course they didn't. I checked it right before the start of the set and it was still working, so I unplugged it. A stagehand walked by and saw the unplugged mic, thought the cable was removed by accident and plugged it back. When I said it's supposed to be off, the local sound guy screamed at me that he will get fired if the kick disappears. I somehow convinced him that I will shoulder the blame and take full responsibility of my own f***ing drum sound.
Tip number 59. If you're using only triggers for your kicks and see a mic next to the bass drum, tap it with your stick to make sure it's actually muted or unplugged.
Lesson learned. For all the following gigs I asked Gator to kick that bass drum mic away, just in case. You could have guessed there was no mood for celebration. Battling the cold, I was trying to warm myself up in the bunk after the show heading to the next gig in Poland. Since now you're already familiar with the conditions of such adventure, let the real touring begin. I'll see you in the next episode with part 2. Eugene out. Impressed by this precision? Me too. This is all achievable thanks to the Foot Blaster triggers. Make sure that you head to footblaster.com and use the code Eugene in order to get a discount for your next Foot Blaster trigger purchase.
They're in my scope, Ethan. Don't worry.
On the other side, an ugly-looking bathroom to take a shower, which can be a lifesaver. Almost every venue has some kind of an option for a shower in Europe. This is absolutely not the case on US tours. We will get to that problem later in future.